Welcome, everyone, to Circle City Conversations. Thank you for joining us for our conversation today. Thank you to our sponsor, Hearst Lamontes, an Indiana law firm with many, many years of experience helping injured Hoosiers. Today, I am joined by an extraordinary individual, Mr. Harvey Lancaster. Harvey, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Harvey is a partner at Lancaster Gill, a personal injury lawyer and trial lawyer and criminal defense attorney with a deep passion for justice and a lifelong dedication to helping others understand and exercise their rights, which is something that a lot of people need to understand.
Yeah.
Learn how to exercise as well. So, Harvey, thanks again. Thanks for joining us. We usually start off pretty simple here. You know, you've lived and worked in Indianapolis most of your life.
Yes.
What's something unique about the city, about our city of Indianapolis, that maybe a lot of people don't realize?
Something unique about the city. I mean, I think everything about the city is pretty unique. Yeah, I mean, I just love the city. I love being here. I love the growth that's coming here. I mean, it's becoming a bigger city. Something unique. I'm from Indianapolis.
There you go.
That's pretty unique. It's the only city I've ever been born in.
So let's talk about that. You're from Indianapolis. Where'd you go to high school?
Perry Meridian.
Oh yeah. So you probably knew. Didn't Katie go there?
She did.
She was a couple years older than you, right?
Same age. Well,
same age.
I always tell her she's a little older, but technically I'm a little older.
Right.
Well, technically and actually. No, she. So yeah, I went to Perry Meridian. Lived on the east side. We got bused down there.
Yeah.
During the busing system times.
Right.
So she was a South Sider and I was an East Sider.
What class was that? 99 or 2000?
2000.
Did you play any sports?
I ran track. I was gonna play football, but team sports just never. It's not necessarily the team sport aspect. It was the aspect of coaches yelling at me.
Oh, the coaches yelling at you.
I don't take instruction very well. I do later, so you can yell at me to do something, and I'm going to say no, but maybe 2 weeks later, I'll take your advice.
Right.
I just can't do it in front of you.
I went to Hanover with the guy that played baseball there. His name's Sean Buffy.
Oh, I know, yeah.
He was class of 99. Yeah. Yeah, he was Brother Buffy. He was a beta at Hanover. Yeah. So if you never became an attorney, what else would you have done with your life?
I would have been a drug. No. If I would have never became a lawyer, I don't know. I mean, I did a lot after college. Wanted to go into accounting or business, but business classes were very boring. Ended up getting my degree in criminal justice. So maybe criminology, some type of criminologist would be the other thing I would have been interested in.
Like forensic investigation or something?
Just more, forensic investigation, but more learning the way the criminal mind works. Like I always think that's interesting. And I think it's an interesting thing on the criminal side, but also I like to learn more about it on the personal injury side. Yeah. Just learning I think it's very important to learn the psychology of the people, how people, view the types of cases you do. I mean, right. Criminally, you want to know how criminals get to where they are.
Right.
But also I think on the PI side, you want to know how jurors get to where they are.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. We had a jury trial last week, and it's crazy. You never know what a jury's going to do. Never. Yeah. And you can kind of glean a little bit. It's like cracking the door open to their lives. You can kind of peek in and see a little bit, but you'll never see the whole thing.
No. What was it you that told me about the expert on behaviors or.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's always been something interesting to me. Just being able to know, how people are thinking or how they're leaning just by, their actions and all that. So that would have been what I would have done if I wasn't a lawyer.
Well, if you ever figure that shit out, let me know, dude. We could do
an
episode on it. I'm still trying to learn how to figure people out. So what was you went to undergrad? Where'd you go to undergrad?
IU Bloomington.
IU Bloomington. And then what was your major there? Was it psychology or something?
No. So my major originally was I was a business major. And then after 2 years of that, I decided I didn't want to do business. It was just.
What happened? Was there?
It was boring. It was so boring. It was really boring. And I felt like I slept through a lot of classes. Oh, yeah. It just didn't keep my interest. So, I mean, you look forward to what you could do with that degree, and that was all great. But then it was like, is this something I want to do the rest of my life? If it's putting me to sleep right now, in 10 years, how much am I going to like it?
Right.
So switched to criminal justice, which I love all my criminal justice type classes. Took the LSAT back then in 2006. And I did pretty well, and then graduated and decided maybe I don't want to do law yet. So took 5 years after that before I went back to law school.
What did you do during those 5 years?
I was assistant manager of a Hollister.
Oh my gosh.
From there, I went into the MIT program with Family Video.
Oh,
Managed a Family Video for a while. Then I worked for Performance Marketing Group. It was event marketing. So we would go around the country and set up different events for people to work. And then I worked at Dave & Buster's. I served at Dave & Buster's for a few years. I started there in 2013, I think.
Mm-hmm.
No, I started there in 2010. 2011 is when I went back to law school.
Yeah.
Or 2009. Okay. We opened the Dave & Buster's in Castleton.
The one up there? That's right by my house.
Yeah. So we opened that one back in 2009.
The food is...
Yeah, it was better. When we started, the service was better. The food was better. They were actually trying to be great. And then 2010 came around, and I looked at my watch and said, it's been 4 years. Time for me to get back to work. So I took some classes at Ivy Tech, some paralegal courses, just to kind of get my brain back into school mode. And then 2011, I started at law school.
Downtown?
I did my first year of law school at Northern Illinois.
Did you commute or?
No, I lived there for a year, and then I moved back down. So that was back in the days when you still needed letters of recommendation for law school.
Yes.
And I did not have all of my letters in time to do my application for McKinney.
Got it.
So I just applied all over, got into a few places, and then decided Northern Illinois was probably best because they did offer in-state.
That's
so
good.
if I did not get my transfer to McKinney, then I would stay there.
Oh, that's awesome. I had to pay out of state tuition.
Oh, see.
Yeah, they killed, and I went to Hanover. I did 4 years of undergrad at Hanover, but I took 1 year off, and I moved back to Florida. I went to lived in Orlando, and I was a social worker there because I thought I could save the world. The world was beyond saving.
Yeah,
that was 20 years ago. But then I came back, and I wanted to try to pay in-state tuition, but they wouldn't let me do it.
Yeah, I don't remember the rule when I was there. It actually, before I went to law school, it came down to it was either going to be Dayton or Northern Illinois. But Dayton is private and no in-state, so NIU won.
Right. So some of the jobs you described was interesting because I worked in the service industry for 15 years. In law school, I worked at the Don Pablo's up there in Castleton. I was a bartender up there. And at Capri, that Italian restaurant. Behind the Walmart there on the north side. So So I'd always worked at service. So what, as far as doing what you do now, just talking to jurors, talking to people, being in the courtroom versus some of the skills that you learned back then working in either the service industry or even retail, which is a very similar set of skills. You know, are there certain skills that you learned back then that you kind of carried over now?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
People have to like you.
Right.
So in the service industry, you're not going to make money if people don't like you. So it's kind of understanding, you know, how people see you, being sure that people, you know, are, you know, gonna take to you. Right. I mean, if I'm trying to convince a jury, it's the same thing. I mean, you got to convince the jury that they should be listening to you. They should be taking your recommendation. Right. Same way you do anything else. And same thing with retail. People would ask your opinions. They got to trust your opinion. So you've got to present yourself in a way that they will see that person as someone that they want to be, you know, friends with and also want to take advice from.
Yeah. I like that they would want to be friends with you.
Yeah.
You know, the kind of person that you can sit down at a bar and have a drink with, right?
Exactly.
What do you think is, so if you absolutely had to go back into one industry or the other, which one would you choose? Retail or service industry, the restaurant?
Oh man, that's difficult. Probably service, just because the money was better.
Yeah.
But it takes a toll.
Oh my gosh,
you're on your feet, you're running, you're walking the whole time. I mean, you always have bad experiences too.
Yeah.
So, but if I had to go back, I'd probably go back into the service industry.
Yeah.
Also, still have a lot of friends there. So.
Right. And you make, you know, the one thing about the service industry is the later you work, the more money you make. You know? Yeah. So I worked at a Miller's Ale House in Florida, which is a kind of a sports bar, and we would get busy. You know, we were in a row with like Chili's, Red Lobster, all the major Olive Garden, and they'd be done at 10, and then they'd come over, and then they would spend half the money they made that night, you know, with us because those were the best tippers.
Yeah,
you know, those
exactly.
Folks. Yeah, so the groups program at IU Bloomington had a significant impact on your life. Tell us a little bit about how that experience shaped who you are today, both as a person and as a lawyer.
Well, like I said, you know, grew up on the East Side, so college wasn't really in my plan.
Yeah.
So what the groups program is it takes first generation low income minority students. You only have to fit 2 though. So I fit all 3. But you only have to fit 2. And then basically what they do is the first summer after high school, you'll have summer classes. They'll have you in dorms with other group students. And basically for that first summer, you'll get college credit for the classes you take. So it kind of prepares you for college
cool.
Before college. So we had at our school what they called homeschool advisors. Basically, it was people who lived in our neighborhood, but who also worked at the school. So one of my homeschool advisors, he said he thought I'd be great for the program.
Yeah.
So, you know, they got me signed up and I got accepted. And that's when I knew I was going to college. So
nice.
But no, I mean, it had a great impact because it got me out of the bubble that I was in. Because growing up in Indianapolis, as far as my experience, I knew pockets of the city. So I knew, you know, my neighborhood, my cousin's neighborhood, my aunts and uncles' neighborhoods, but I didn't really know a lot outside of that. So when I went to college, it kind of opened me up to just more experiences, knowing more people. Yeah. And it really just, I think, that's why it had the biggest impact. I think getting into a position where, you know, you get to see outside of what you know. Right. It makes it just grows you so easily.
Yeah. And as far as, let's change a little bit and talk about personal injury or even civil rights work, which is the work that you do. and we'll talk a little bit about criminal work too. The personal injury or even the civil rights cases, those often involve individuals at their lowest points of their life.
Mm-hmm.
How do you approach building trust with clients who may feel overwhelmed or disillusioned with our legal system?
Most of the time, I just tell them right off. I understand where they're coming from, even though I don't know exactly what they're going through. I let them know that these are things that we've dealt with before, and that this is a firm that they can trust. This is someone they can trust to help them kind of navigate through the problem. And I always let them know, we'll handle all the legal.
Yeah.
You can. Yep. You get your treatment, you go to your doctors, but you can leave the legal to us. You don't have to worry about that. That's why we're here.
Yeah.
So just kind of taking that off their plate, I think helps a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. In your experience, what do you think? And I'll tell you what I think first, but of course I'll tell you what I think. It's my podcast.
Exactly.
Right? So in your experience, what is the most misunderstood aspect of personal injury law, either by the public or by clients?
I think one of the most misunderstood aspects is that we're just out here, going against Joe Public and taking money out of their pocket.
Right.
I remember a trial where we talked to the jury afterwards, and we had the jury tell us that they thought we were in trial because the insurance company had already paid all of their money. And now we were trying to get extra money from the plaintiff.
Right.
Or I had one tell us that they thought we were in trial because neither of the parties had insurance, or at least one of them didn't have insurance. And now we're just trying to get money. And, they said if it's the plaintiff who didn't have insurance, we don't want to give them money because they should have had insurance.
Yeah.
If it's the defendant who didn't have it, well, we don't want to hit him too hard because he doesn't have money. So I think that's a pretty big misunderstanding is that we, go after just normal average Joes and are trying to get money out of their pockets or take their houses or things like that.
Yeah, it's crazy, and I'm sure your clients have said the same thing to you, but they've said it to me. They're like, you mean you don't sue the insurance company? No. You have to sue the individual.
Yeah.
You cannot sue the insurance company.
Exactly.
You can't even say the word insurance in a courtroom. It's like the damn world implodes if you say it. Right?
Yeah.
I always think of like a misconception to me is like, like the old like game shows where you sit in this box and they got the fans that blow money around.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Like I feel like a lot of the people in the public think that that's what it's like to do this kind of case. Just like you're just grabbing money out of everywhere, coming at you. Yeah.
I wish.
Yeah. No.
If the insurance company was just throwing money at me.
Yeah.
No,
Right.
Yeah. It takes a lot.
It does. And so, it's important. I think it's important. We can't talk about insurance. There's even a jury instruction that says it, but it's there. If you're sitting on a jury and there's a case going on in front of you, chances are there's some insurance there and the insurance company is going to be on the hook. And not just that, but let's say you do get a verdict for more than the policy limits, are you really going to collect from the individual? No, we're not. So we're not that. We're good guys. Look at me right here. Look at that guy. All right. So when you're dealing with large corporations or insurance companies, how do you maintain the balance between being pragmatic because how these cases are, Harvey, you've been doing it a long time. You know what it takes, the effort, the cost and everything, but how do you balance that pragmatism versus fighting for what's truly right, for your clients?
A lot of times the pragmatism gets lost. Not a lot. We deal with the same people all the time. So I just try to keep it simple. I always tell them, I represent my client, you represent your client. So, we can either get to a point where we can find some common ground.
Oh, we just lost power.
Are we still on? Oh, we're still on. Oh, we're back.
Yeah, we're back.
Yeah.
Oh, that was
Okay.
weird.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
We get to a point where we can find some common ground, or we don't. So,
Yeah.
generally, you know, I don't have a problem working with them. I mean, I know specific times when I've even had heated depositions with defense attorneys,
Yeah.
and I've even told them afterwards. I mean, I'll go to them afterwards and say, look, I know we got heated, but we represent different sides, and I appreciate what you do for your client. And I just hope you understand that I'm doing what I have to do for my client. So I think that you have to be able to work with them, even if you don't want to.
Yeah.
So to answer the question, how do I balance it? I just think that the best way to balance it is by
So weird.
understanding that your ego should not affect your client.
Yes.
And if you let that ego get in your way, that's when you end up with, breaking those relationships and end up in a situation where you're putting your client's recovery at risk.
Right.
So that's the biggest thing I remember is just don't let my ego overtake what I'm doing for my client.
Did you see that sign in my office? It says your ego is not your amigo.
I did not see that.
Yeah.
Oh wait, I think I did. I think I did.
I have to remind myself of that all the time. So we're gonna go with a different set of questions here, okay? You've said that one of your motivations, you said this on your website, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
So you've said that one of your motivations for pursuing law was seeing injustices that people didn't know how to fight. What was the moment when you knew your work as a lawyer made a real difference in someone's life?
Where my work made a real difference?
Yeah. Or a moment.
Yeah. There's been a few. I mean, I guess once was I had a trial a couple years ago, a personal injury trial, and my client broke his ankle.
Yeah.
I had to have ankle surgery. Missed some work. He was a blue collar, worked for his employer for 20 plus years. Got hurt. And when we were trying to resolve his case, he still had hardware in his ankle.
Oh yeah.
He was still having some issues, but he wasn't a crybaby. Like he fought through it. So we ended up going to trial because they would not offer more than, I think $60,000 or something like that. And I think our health insurance lien was more than that. So it wasn't, they didn't want to take any responsibility.
Right, right.
So, I talked to my client. He said he wanted to go to trial, and we went to trial. And after the first day of trial, they offered us a lot more than what they had originally offered, but after the first day of trial, they said they wanted to negotiate. And I told them exactly how much they would have to pay me before my closing if they wanted to settle the case.
Yeah.
They didn't want to do it. Essentially, they kept telling me that they had to talk to someone else in Connecticut who had to talk to someone else. And then they were saying that it was hard getting these conversations done. So we come in the next day. They say they don't have it. We do closing. And after closing, they tell me they want to pay me the amount I asked. And my client said, no. He said, I think you did great. He said, you did great. You really represented me well. He said he didn't want to. He said he wouldn't take anything that they offered at this point because he said that he felt like I did a great job representing him, and whatever he ended up with, if it was zero, was going to be enough because I stood up for it. So verdict came back a lot bigger than what they offered.
That's awesome.
And he was happy, and he still calls me and sends me clients now. And but I think it made a big deal to him because someone stood up for it.
Right.
Like we didn't just say, take this however amount. And even when we got the offer of the amount that I had talked to him about accepting, and he said he didn't want to take it, I didn't push him.
Yeah.
Like, that's not what we're here for. We're
Yeah.
here to stand up for you, and we're going to do what we can to make sure we do our best at that.
Yeah. Isn't it crazy how that has so much value to them?
Mm-hmm.
The fact that someone believed them and believed everything they've had to deal with, and then stood up in their corner, and told the story.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's one of the things, that case we just tried, it wasn't a big verdict, but, the client was happy that we did it. And it was one of those cases where a lot of other places would have settled it just out of sheer cost.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've had that too, where maybe we don't get the great verdict we want, but the clients are always happy that someone stood up for them.
Yeah.
Whether it ends up great or normal or average or whatever. So, and I think if you're doing your job right, that's the type of client you're going to have.
Exactly.
So,
yeah. We talked about trial. What is your favorite aspect of trial?
My favorite aspect of trial is probably closing.
Yeah.
Because I get to argue.
Oh, yeah. That's when you can unleash.
Yeah. I can actually put together all of this evidence that I've thrown at you in a cohesive story.
Yeah.
Opening.
It's a preview.
It's a preview, and you can make some argument, but a good attorney may object during your opening,
Right.
and then you're standing there looking dumb. I know a lot of people like voir dire.
Yeah.
I'm beginning to like it more.
Mm-hmm.
It'd probably be my second favorite part. I just think I think it's important, obviously, because you have to build that connection. But my favorite part would probably be closing.
Yeah. Yeah. Jury selection voir dire is usually a part that I struggle with the most, even though I love talking to people. It just, there's always an issue with trying to get everything that you kind of want out of them, especially if I'm limited in time. Mm-hmm. There's only so much you can do, but I'm the guy that gets objected to during opening. I may as well deliver a closing argument during my opening. Yeah. So I did. There was like this Keith Mitnick thing where he took the other side's opening exhibits, mm-hmm. and I did that in front of a judge one time, and he objected. The judge sustained it, so I tried to use his own exhibit against him in my opening.
I mean, you should be able to, right?
Well, that's what I said. I said, Judge, he's going to go up there and talk to him about it. I mean, I should be able to put it into context for him, So anyways, so lawyers do face tough challenges and losses. So what's one of the hardest setbacks you've experienced in your career, and what did you learn from it that has helped you move forward?
Hardest setback in my career?
It could be a trial loss or...
It probably would be a trial loss. A couple of years ago, I mean, it wasn't a loss. We got an offer. We get a verdict that was better than, the actual last offer that was made. So it was a plaintiff's verdict technically, but
not much.
Yeah, it just wasn't what we wanted for our client. So the reason it was a setback is because, again, we do this for our clients, and not putting your client in a position that you think they should be in is always hard. But what made it easier, because that was one of my first trials where something like that happened, was the client. The client coming to me afterwards and just telling me, I really appreciated everything you did. I really understand, how much you put into this, and just having that gratitude, I think, really makes it better when you have a situation like that, because ultimately I want my clients to know I care about them. And we don't get great in a trial, but you still know that I did what I could, and I did care about you. That's really the biggest thing to me.
Yeah, absolutely. So you worked at a larger law firm, mm-hmm. and now you run your own practice with your partner. Mm-hmm. What do you see as the biggest challenge from going from a larger kind of machine to more of a solo, smaller practice?
I think the biggest thing is Google.
Yeah.
When you go out on your own, you have nothing.
Yeah.
You don't have any reviews. You may not have clients. So building that, I think, is the hardest part. Just building the client base and letting people understand, that you are a great attorney, even if you have not you have not gotten reviews. And I've had clients when we first started that they would bring that up. Like, well, how do I know how long you've been a lawyer, or how good of a lawyer you are if I don't see any reviews? So I think that was probably the biggest difficulty, is just people understanding that, good lawyers sometimes start their own firms.
Right.
So,
and I probably struggle with the process procedure part the most, the business side of it.
Oh, that's always the problem.
Right. It's always changing.
I put it off more than I should, but
yeah.
The processes, which we're getting better at that. When we first started our case management software, we weren't using it the way we could,
right.
Using, workflows and things like that auto set dates for us and auto set follow-ups, because you think as an attorney, you're just going to follow up all the time, right?
Yeah.
You don't need a reminder to call someone, right? So, but those processes have gotten a lot better. So yeah, now that you mention it, that's a pretty difficult part of having it.
Yeah. Nobody. Is it recording? Yeah. Can you hear me?
I can't hear you.
Oh.
It keeps going in and out.
Yeah, it keeps going in and out.
Maybe we can.
Yeah.
But it is recording.
It is, because I can tell.
That's the first thing.
We'll edit that part out.
Yeah.
You said the power went out.
Yeah. No, yeah, you've been watching. Anyways, yeah, that's the part that I've been trying to learn the most about, is the business side, because I didn't go to law school. Like you were a business major, and then, and I certainly couldn't have, or would not have wanted to be a business major, but I didn't go to law school to learn, how to run the business. But that's the thing about those larger shops, like they are leaps and bounds ahead of us when it comes to that.
Yeah.
They are. And so, for us to be able to, we can't compete with them on their dime, their marketing dime.
Correct.
Their ad spend is astronomical.
Exactly.
Yeah. But if you can provide a different service, a better level of service, compared to some of the things that clients could potentially get at bigger firms, and then also hone in on the business side of it while you're doing it. I think that's the best way, in my opinion, to grow. So let's talk about some of your passions outside of the law. All right. So what are some of the things that you're passionate about, or things that resonate with you outside of the law?
Love music. Back in the day, I was a rapper.
Nice.
So,
I didn't know that.
I made great sheets with some old tracks or something. But
oh my gosh.
I know it's cliche, but my kids, hanging out with them. My son's really into video games, and he's getting into music. So that's great. Just had a daughter, so hopefully she likes me. But outside, and I know you can't tell right now because the baby's been taking up a lot of my time in the last month, but I like to be active.
Yeah.
Going out, playing basketball, football, and really just music and family.
Oh yeah. How old's your son?
He is 7. He'll be 8 in December. That's
a good age.
Yeah.
And it really, I'll tell you, it just goes downhill from here.
Oh, I can tell. Our oldest is 15. So
yeah.
I actually coached my son's soccer team this year, and I've never played soccer, or I don't know the rules of soccer, but no one else volunteered. So,
oh my God,
there I was coaching soccer.
Yeah, right. That's so funny. I got roped into the same thing. I got roped into coaching a 3-year-old soccer league, which was crazy.
Yeah, I don't even know what they're just running.
Some of them aren't even running.
Yeah, it's just like this big blur of kids just running all over the soccer field.
Exactly. Yeah, and it's like a tiny little field too.
Yeah.
I mean, that's hilarious. So you're clearly a family-oriented person. What are some of the values that you hope to pass on to your kids?
Work hard. Don't care about what other people say about you. We talk about that in our house a lot. You are, we tell our kids all the time how great they are. And we always commend them on whatever they do great, but we also let them know when they do something that's not so great. So, but ultimately I think the biggest thing is just being happy in your own skin. Understanding your faults and your not only your faults but also your understanding what you're great at. And leaning into it. Like even if you don't think that everyone else is on that same level or no one else wants to do what you want to do, you lean into it yourself because it's going to bring you joy.
Exactly.
So,
yeah, it's going to make you a better person.
Exactly.
So that's awesome, man. I appreciate that. So if you could be any historical figure for a day, who would you choose and why?
Any historical figure? Wow. There's so many.
There are.
Dred Scott.
There you go. Oh my gosh. Why?
Dred Scott. Just because, he's kind of forgotten in history, but he's a big part of where we are today.
Yeah, he stood up for what he thought was right.
If not for him, I don't know what we'd probably be speaking with, English accents still.
Yeah.
And, drinking tea every day. So you never know. Someone has to be the person that jumps it off and,
Yeah,
Yeah,
I like that. If someone was writing a book about your life, what would the title of the book be?
Harvey Lancaster, : the life of. I'm just making this up as I go. Harvey Lancaster, the rags to riches story of the greatest attorney in the history of Indiana.
That's great. Do you still live on the east side?
No, we live in Fishers now.
You live in the Fishers area.
Yeah.
So what is, for some of us non-east siders, I'm from Florida originally, so I didn't grow up in Indianapolis, but I love to eat food.
Okay.
So what's an amazing restaurant, a gem on the east side that nobody knows about?
They keep changing.
Okay.
I feel like the ones that I always like, they end up closing down. I was really liking Chicken Scratch up on Keystone, but apparently they're closed now.
Okay.
That chef is at a new restaurant, and I have it written down somewhere, so I need to try that out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Manuel knows all the good stuff.
Yeah. So, but there used to be all these smaller kind of home style restaurants around, and they just don't have them as much anymore.
Right. What's the place off Keystone? The breakfast place, Keystone Deli. Is it still there?
I haven't seen that.
It's in that. There's a shopping center there.
Like
50 something.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a Keystone Deli back there. I used to represent people that get arrested for shoplifting.
Well, I will tell you this. I tell you, KSR's wings
aren't
as great as people say.
I agree. I do. I agree. And I'll probably get a lot of flack for that.
Well, they would tell me,
good.
like, hey, have you had KSR's wings? And I go, I'm like, oh, these are average.
Yeah. Yeah. You know whose wings, and I'm biased, I'll say it because he's a buddy of mine, but I think Psalm's wings are underrated.
I haven't had his wings. Well, Psalm's wings.
Yeah,
I'm not
like Psalm's
his,
place.
and
Yeah, the smoked wings at what's the barbecue place? Leader. Yeah, Half Leader. Yeah, and Leader House was there. Yeah, those are good. The smoked wings are really good.
I make a pretty mean wing. I do a whole wing. I do a smoke and then fry.
Oh my!
And then I make my own sauces. I just do a hot barbecue and a honey barbecue. It's only 2 sauces.
Oh my God! I got to try some of these wings.
Yeah, I'll bring you a pan.
You need to bring me some wings.
Yeah, gotcha.
I love wings, and my son, he's 11. He's the oldest one, but he's been eating hot wings since he was 4 or 5.
I'm trying to get my son on hot wings.
Oh, he loves it. This morning I came downstairs and he was finishing up breakfast, and there was a bottle of Cholula just sitting right there. Yeah, with his breakfast, dude. It's Cholula. So, well, Harvey, what's next for you for Lancaster Gill? Any exciting developments or future goals that you guys are working towards?
Just working on growing and building our brand and getting better at it. We're doing more personal injury, and we've been getting a lot of jail assault cases and police assault cases, which I love those.
Yeah.
So we're getting some of those in. Me personally, I'm actually going to be joining the podcast soon.
Oh, nice.
So we're working on getting that up and running. So,
what's the theme of it? What's it about?
It is talking about things that affect the communities here in Indianapolis and across the country.
Nice.
A friend of mine, he had a podcast called the Circle of Indy podcast. And we're basically, he's in that podcast, and then we're starting our own podcast. So hopefully we get that out. Maybe I'll have you on. Come tell us a little bit about lawyering in Indianapolis. But
it's not for the faint.
It is not. It's not. But but that, and I'm teaching a class at McKinney.
You are?
Litigation drafting.
Good for you.
Teaching a night class there.
I remember at Bench Bar. I saw you at Bench Bar. You were working on a brief.
Yeah.
No, you were helping.
I was helping Amy on the brief.
You were helping Amy on the brief. Yeah, and I'm like, dude, we're here. We're out by the pool, man.
Hey, it's always fun.
And you're like,
that's teamwork right there. Because if she can't have fun, we can't have fun as a group. So let's get everyone done with their work so we can all go party.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the fun part about Bench Bar. You're always you're gonna find people hanging out. You're gonna find people kind of hanging out, doing some work, and then a little mix of both, right?
Yeah, I'm ready for next year.
Yeah,
are they doing it at
French Lick
again?
Yeah, so they
love you, French Lick.
Yeah, right. Well, the hotel in Louisville was a problem.
Yeah,
there was some issues there, and the costs I think were significant. So they had to change venues and French Lick, Indiana in the summertime. I love it.
It is. It's just a little more closed.
Right. There's not much going on. Yeah. Whereas when you're in downtown Louisville, you're in downtown Louisville, right? So yeah. If someone's facing a legal challenge, whether it be criminal challenge, criminal issue, or personal injury case, or civil rights violation, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
You can go on our website and fill out our form there. That's lancastergill.com. They can call us. That's 317-643-6600. Or they can email me, Harvey@lancastergill.com.
There we go. Thank you for joining us today on Circle City Conversations. Don't forget to subscribe and stay tuned for more thought-provoking conversations like this one with Harvey Lancaster. Thanks again, Harvey.
Thank you.